Story 1. My husband got a paternity test on our daughter, and it came back negative, but I never cheated. I don't know how it happened, and I haven't been able to stop crying all day. I never cheated. I love my husband. We've been together since college, and he's the love of my life. He's handsome and kind, and while I've slept with two other people, both were before we got together. There is no other potential father for our daughter. We were married already and actively trying for a baby. I never cheated. I never would cheat, and I don't know why he took that stupid test because I would never ever cheat, but it came back negative, and now he thinks he's not her dad. I don't know how to convince him it was a faulty test, and I'm so scared. I'm 29, my husband is 31, and our daughter is 5 years old. These past few months, it's like he's become someone completely different from the man I married. He's cold and suspicious. He kept demanding to see my phone and wouldn't tell me why. And I showed him at first, but eventually told him I wouldn't anymore unless he explained why. He's been distant with our daughter too. He stays in his office for hours on end, and I don't know what he's doing. I did not cheat. He accused me this morning saying he'd done the test after realizing that our daughter's eyes, which are brown, wouldn't naturally come from ours since we both have blue eyes, and that he wanted me to get out of the house. I didn't leave, and he locked me out of our bedroom, and now I'm in my daughter's room. This is terrifying. I just had a conversation with my husband. He's out of his room now, and we discussed some things. I told him again that I would never cheat and started talking about a list I made of tests I want done, but he told me that he didn't want to hear it right now. We're going to have a longer conversation tomorrow, and he said that he still loves our daughter and he won't try to keep me out of the house or our room for now. I asked him to hug me, and he did. I'm scared that I won't be able to convince him. I just want our family to go back to normal. Okay, so I just want to pause real quick because that is already a lot to take in, and we haven't even gotten to the update yet. And the update is where this whole thing just completely flips on its head. Let's keep going. Hi everyone. First off, I wanted to thank everyone who reached out. My original post got so much attention, it was hard to get to everything, but I ended up making a list of plans and tests I wanted to get done. My husband was understandably distrustful of me for a while, but he apologized for the way he acted, which I didn't need, and said that he wouldn't try to kick me out of our home. He did say, though, that if every test came back and I cheated, then he was going to go scorched earth. We did a few tests. Blood paternity tests for him and me and our daughter, and we had an appointment with a chimerism specialist coming up, but that got canceled because, well, some of you guessed it, but my daughter is not biologically mine either. I don't know how this happened, but a police officer came to our house and took our statements, and we're suing the hospital where I gave birth. I don't know what happened to my baby, and that is terrifying. I have my husband back, but my whole world was still upended, and I just wish he'd never taken that stupid test. I've been sleeping in my daughter's room, and I'm so afraid that she's going to be taken away from me. But at the same time, I want to know where my biological daughter is and if she's okay. I pray to God she's okay. My daughter still doesn't know the details, and we've been trying to keep this quiet. The last thing we need is a big scandal. I don't want people who know us to look at her differently. She deserves better than that. She's such a good kid, and she's not some spectacle to be gawked at. If we can find her birth family, I have no idea what we'll do. I guess the best case scenario would be to get a bigger house and all live together, but I don't know if we can afford that, or if they'd go for that, or even if we'll be able to locate them, or if I'm just crazy. This whole situation is crazy. I don't know anyone else who's been in a situation like this. Are there support groups for parents of kids who got mixed up? I Googled and nothing came up. Literally all I'm getting are tabloid articles from trashy magazines that slap the faces of innocent kids on the same pages as celebrity sex scandals and fiction. How do we tell our daughter? We can't tell her now. She'll tell the kids at school, and then it'll be everywhere. But we have to say something. I don't know what I ever did to deserve this. And then the husband asked to post his side on her account, because apparently someone narrated the original post on YouTube, and he watched it, recognized the story, went on her account page, and found a bunch of comments about him that were not exactly nice, so he asked for a chance to tell his side. Here it is. So, I don't know how many of you have been down a self-doubt rabbit hole before, but it's not the most logical place to be. It's even less logical when you have the whole internet telling you that your wife is cheating and that she's planning to take the house and take you for all you're worth and never really loved you, and you always sort of thought she was too good for you anyway. So you end up seeing everything as a sign of infidelity, and then you get not one, but two failed paternity tests on your daughter. She stayed herself. I was sure that she'd made a mistake, that she'd regret being with me. I started getting into some online groups that were full of guys who'd been cheated on, lost custody, lost everything. And when someone said that his tip-off was that he and his wife both had blue eyes and their son had brown, I felt stupid. I did not want to jump to conclusions, but when I made a post about my fears, everyone said that she was cheating. People said not to say anything because she'd use it to hide her cheating and get ahead of me on the divorce. I got the test and I didn't really think it'd come back negative. Then it did. I didn't want to believe it, but I pulled back. I felt betrayed. I wanted to be a good husband, but I couldn't shake this. I tried to find evidence of an affair and failed. I got another test. When that one was also negative, I snapped. If you've ever been cheated on, you know what it feels like. When my wife denied it, I got angrier. I just wanted her to leave. I didn't want to go through what everyone seemed to think was going to happen. I didn't want to lose custody of my kid. I didn't want to lose my house. I was scared and angry, and I wanted the truth. I felt like if she couldn't even be honest, there was no getting past this. I took a few hours to calm down. When she came back with a list of tests to take, I tried to keep my cool. I tried to keep my cool for so long. I know I was wrong about the affair, but so was everyone else in my ear. My kid is genuinely not biologically mine. I didn't immediately consider that switched at birth was an option. I've been through a messed up time, and I don't think getting angry one time because I thought my wife cheated and was lying about it makes me a monster. And honestly, I don't think it does either. There's no real villain here. It's a hospital error, a husband who fell into the worst corners of the internet during a really low point, and a woman who never cheated and still had to spend weeks proving it. I really hope that little girl never finds out in a way that hurts her. She deserves so much better than that. Alright, moving on. Story 2. Would I be the jerk for not switching dorm rooms with a girl who transferred to my boarding school? So basically, I go to an almost Montessori boarding school where the students get to choose their own dorms and roommates. I have what most people would agree to be the best dorm. The way our dorms are set up, every dorm made for two people has a bathroom in it and is bigger than the singles. And single dorms don't have bathrooms and have to share a communal bathroom with 3 other single dorms. Around 3 years before I got there, multiple people complained that my dorm was too small for 2 people, so the school just made it a single. It was too small because it's right next to the laundry room. I chose this room because a family friend told me about it, and because of the way the boarding is set up, I'm going to the same room just a floor up every year. So where the problem starts is that a girl transferred to our school this year, and she's autistic. The school has rooms for people with disabilities, however, I've never been in one of them. Before spring break, she knocked on my door and asked if we could talk. She basically asked if we could switch dorms, because my dorm would be better adjusted for her since it's close to the laundry room, has a window that faces the quad, and a few other reasons, she explained, pretty well, honestly. I feel bad because she lives out of state and has to spend all weekends and smaller breaks on campus, whereas I live pretty close by and go home basically whenever I want. And because she's also new and doesn't have many friends on campus, she's probably going to spend a lot of time in her dorm. I talked to my school before break and they said I don't have to do it, but if I wanted to, I could be switched to an open single on campus. I really love my dorm and don't want to switch, but I feel like I would be a jerk if I don't. So, would I be the jerk here? Update time. I came back on campus today and saw the girl in the cafeteria. I already emailed her saying I wasn't going to switch dorms, but I wanted to talk to her face to face. I wanted to be very clear that she wasn't trying to guilt trip me. She just asked because closed mouths don't get fed. And when she initially asked to switch dorms, she had a good explanation for each reason I mentioned. I just forgot to add it in the original post. She is very kind and sweet and was not weaponizing her autism at all. She is going to stay in her original dorm, which she says is perfectly fine for her. And honestly, good on both of them for handling that like adults. She asked, which is totally fair, and this person said no, which is also totally fair, and they talked it out like normal people. That's kind of refreshing, actually. Okay, next one. Story 3. Am I the jerk for not going on family vacation unless I can share a bed with my fiance? My brother and I started planning a family vacation, first one since 2019 that all the cousins, and the youngest is 24 years old, can all go. We used to rent a large beach house every year, so we were looking at large Airbnbs that sleep everyone and splitting costs. On the initial call, my mom said she prefers that my fiance, she's 27 and I'm 28, not share a room. I told her that wasn't going to happen. We've lived together for over 2 years, own a house together, and are getting married in 6 months, 3 by the time of the trip. We even went on a family cruise last year and no one had any issues with us sharing a room. For a couple weeks after that, we sent Airbnb options back and forth. No one brought up room arrangements again. Then today, my brother tells me that my mom had already booked a house. When I called her, she said my fiance and I can either sleep in separate beds or find another place to stay. I asked her why she didn't tell me earlier, and she said her original preference was her way of communicating that. I told her that wasn't a rule, it was a preference, and I had set a boundary. She said since she booked the house, she can treat it like her house and set the rules. I pointed out that we were paying our share, which is around $1,200, so she doesn't get to control our sleeping arrangements. She said we can still pay, but we are not sharing a bed there. Now the cheapest option is a nearby hotel, which is around $1,500, which means no kitchen and driving back and forth every day. That's a completely different and more expensive vacation than what we agreed to. The only reason I'm even considering going is for my special needs brother, who is really excited about this trip. Otherwise, I'd just skip it. My fiance is willing to sleep separately for his sake, but I'm struggling giving in, especially since my parents don't support our relationship and might not even come to our wedding. I feel stuck between paying more and giving in to my mom's control. I know my dad, aunt, and grandma share the same beliefs as my mom, so I feel alone in this. Yeah, I mean, look, this one is pretty straightforward to me. You're 28 years old, you own a house with this woman, you're getting married in a few months, and your mom is trying to dictate where you sleep on a vacation that you're paying $1,200 for. That's not a preference, that's just control. And the fact that she snuck in the booking without telling anyone and then revealed the rules after the fact is pretty telling. I feel bad for the special needs brother, though, because he just wants everyone together having a good time, and he's caught in the middle of all this. That part got me a little. All right, moving on. Story 4. I accidentally learned my coworker's salary, and now I can't stop doing math during meetings. This happened 2 weeks ago, and it has been eating me alive. I work in an open office. My coworker Greg sits directly across from me. Our monitors face each other. I have never once looked at his screen on purpose. I want to make that clear because what happened was entirely an accident and also entirely his fault. Greg got up to go to the bathroom and left his screen unlocked. Normal, people do this, I don't care. But he left a PDF open and it was zoomed to like 400%. I don't know why anyone would zoom a PDF to 400%, but Greg did, and because of that, I could read it from 4 feet away without even trying. It was his offer letter from when he was hired, with his salary, in basically 48-point font. He makes $31,000 more than me. We have the same title, same team. He started 8 months after me. I trained him. I trained the man who makes $31,000 more than me. I showed him how to use our project management tool. I walked him through the client onboarding process. I sat with him for 2 hours explaining our filing system, which honestly, even I don't fully understand, but I pretended I did because I was his mentor. And he makes $31K more than me. I cannot stop doing math now. Every meeting we're in together, I'm calculating. Okay, this meeting is 1 hour. He's making Y per hour. I'm making Y per hour. The difference between us sitting in this same meeting, listening to the same person talk about Q3 projections, is $14.90. I am losing $14.90 of relative value every hour I sit next to Greg. I've started a spreadsheet. I know this is unhinged. The spreadsheet has columns. The worst part is, Greg is good at his job. He's not some guy coasting on nepotism. He's competent, he's pleasant, he brings in those little stroopwafel cookies for the office on Fridays. He has never done a single thing wrong to me. This man is my friend. I went to his birthday dinner last month. I bought him a gift with my lesser salary. I looked up his job posting from when he was hired. It listed the salary range. The range started at what I make and went up to what he makes. So technically, we're both in range. I'm just at the bottom and he's at the top. Same range, same title, different ends. Like two people on the same bus, except he's in first class and I'm sitting on the wheel. I know I should negotiate. I know I should talk to my manager. I know the mature thing to do is advocate for myself. But instead, I've been silently tracking the cumulative salary gap between me and Greg in a spreadsheet that I have named Greg Data and password protected, even though nobody would ever want to look at it. We're at $6,100 since I found out. 14 working days. I'll stop tracking it when I get a raise or when I lose my mind. And honestly, at this point, it's a coin flip. Greg just offered me a stroopwafel. I took it. It was delicious. That makes it worse somehow. I mean, honestly, that last line just got me. Greg Data. Password protected. This person is going through it. And the funniest part is Greg has genuinely done nothing wrong. He just got paid more and brought cookies. Just go ask for a raise, my friend. Just do it. Okay, next story. Story 5. Left a man I just met sleeping in my apartment. I am living alone for the first time in a while and went on a first date. I suggested he come over to swim at my place and then we could go out for drinks. However, he told me as I was coming back from work that he had brought his bags. I guess I thought he would leave after, but he didn't. Anyway, the next morning we had a very good time. It was a lot of fun, but I had to leave for work this morning and he is still at my place. I left at 8:30 and it is now 9:30. I messaged him to please turn off the AC before he leaves and to say I had a great time. However, he has not answered, and I don't know at what point I should freak out and assume he is robbing me. Or do people think he just genuinely slept in that long? Maybe I can drive home at lunch and see. I will also accept people telling me how stupid I am. I at least took my passport, cards, money, and electronics with me to work, so the important stuff is safe. And just to clarify, he is solo traveling across Asia, and that's why he had bags with him. Update time. Okay, so I called him and there was no response. I then texted him saying, "You alive?" which someone suggested. Maybe some people sleep in until 10:30, and we were up until like 3 a.m., but I don't think it's normal to sleep that long at someone else's place. He just called me back and said he just woke up, and to be fair, it sounded like it. I'm still going to go back at lunch, but he said he would leave soon. Update 2. I got home and he literally made the bed and did the dishes. I think I was just hungover and anxious, but I am very much safe and he is gone. Sorry to all the people who like to sleep in that I offended. I just normally wake up with the sun, so it seems foreign to me, but maybe it's more culturally normal in some places to sleep late into the day during the week. That's genuinely such a sweet ending. He made the bed and did the dishes. That's a good person right there. I love that one. Moving on. Story 6. Am I the jerk for refusing to drive a longer route to drop a girl off because she didn't want to be alone in the car with me? I feel like it's relevant to mention I'm a guy. This situation involves me and 3 other people. Let's call them Joe, Sandra, and Amy. I'm good friends with Joe. We've been friends since we were kids. I know Sandra through Joe, and the 3 of us hang out regularly. Last week, Sandra invited her friend Amy to hang out with us. Amy and Sandra are good friends, and she's met Joe before. It was my first time meeting her. We just saw a movie and then went bowling. When everything was done, Sandra asked me if I was okay to drive Amy home. I said yeah, no problem. I'm the only one who drives, so I usually drop everyone off after we see each other. I live in the middle of nowhere, like an hour north of all of them. They all live pretty close together. From where we were and where everyone's house is, it made sense to drop off Joe first, then Sandra, then Amy, and then continue home. We didn't discuss the logistics in advance, so I dropped Joe off first and then was heading to Sandra's. I could tell Amy and Sandra were texting each other, and they were kind of whispering. I had a feeling they were talking about me, but I didn't know for sure until Sandra pointed out I made a wrong turn, and Amy's house was the other way. I explained it made more sense to drop Sandra off first, then Amy. It was only at this point Amy mentioned she didn't want to be alone in the car with me. Her only reason was because I'm a man, and she alluded that being alone in a car with a man she doesn't really know is unsafe. So what she was asking me was to drop her off first, then drive 10 minutes back in the opposite direction of my house to drop Sandra off, then another 10 minutes back the exact same way I just came from, passing Amy's house again, just to get home. My drive home is already an hour from town, so I said no. I didn't want to add an extra 20 minutes to my already 60-minute drive. They were both really pressuring me and trying to guilt me into just doing it, but I kept saying no. It was such an awkward car ride because they just didn't give up. Amy got out of the car at Sandra's house and kind of slammed the door, which honestly annoyed me a little. I just drove straight home after that. Joe called me the next day and said he felt like I should have just done it, but I feel like their ask was unreasonable. This one's genuinely tricky, and I've been going back and forth on it. Like, on one hand, I completely understand Amy's perspective, because that fear is real and valid, and she doesn't know this guy at all. On the other hand, he's being asked to add 20 minutes to an already hour-long drive home as a favor to someone who essentially implied he might be dangerous. That's a tough spot to be in. I think if Amy had just been upfront from the beginning, before the driving started, they could have figured out a different plan, and nobody would have ended up in that awkward car situation. The communication was just off from the start. Alright, next one. Story 7. I tried to fake being sick to skip work and accidentally made it a whole thing. So I woke up already annoyed, saw my schedule, and was like, yeah, no chance I'm dealing with people today. Not even a real reason, just one of those days where everything feels like too much, and instead of pushing through, I just went, nah, I'll call in sick. I almost never do it, so I figured it wasn't a big deal. I texted my manager something simple like, hey, got a stomach bug, gonna stay home today, nothing dramatic. He replied quick, like, damn, that sucks, feel better. And I was like, cool, mission accomplished, went back to sleep. And then around noon, he texts again asking if I can hop on a quick call with HR, because apparently a few people had similar symptoms that week and they wanted to check if something was going around. And I was already like, oh, okay, this is more than I signed up for, but whatever. So I got on the call trying to sound low energy, but not like I was dying. And they started asking questions, like actual detailed questions. When did it start? What symptoms? Fever, yes or no? What did you eat? Have you been around these specific coworkers? And I'm sitting there like, this turned into an interview. And instead of just backing out, I started improvising like an idiot. Nausea, cramps, yeah, whole package. They asked about fever, and I said, yeah, probably, didn't check, but felt like it. Which in hindsight was the dumbest possible thing to say. Because suddenly they're like, okay, we need you to log this properly, and you shouldn't come back until you're 48 hours symptom-free. And my brain just went, wait, that's not what I wanted. Then my manager jumps in like, yeah, let's be safe, take the rest of the week if needed. And I'm just sitting there muted like, cool, great. I just promoted myself from, I don't feel like working today, to full-blown biohazard. And now I'm stuck at home trying to figure out how fast I can recover without it looking suspicious while people keep texting me like, bro, you good? One coworker even offered to bring soup, and I feel like absolute garbage because now I'm lying and getting sympathy. And the worst part is, I actually needed the hours this week. I didn't even think that far ahead. So now I'm in this weird spot where I either commit to being sick for real, like method acting this whole thing, or show up too soon and look like I'm full of it. All because I didn't feel like dealing with one shift. The soup coworker genuinely got me. This person is out here offering to bring soup, and this guy is perfectly healthy, just lying on his couch. This is a masterclass in how a small decision snowballs into a full situation. Just take the day off, honestly, next time. Most managers are fine with it. Okay, next one. And this one is short, but it's great. Story 8. I texted my coworker instead of my husband. I'm 25 and I work in a hospital and am the youngest of all my coworkers, with most of them being my parents' age. My husband always calls me out for my bathroom habits. I go about 3 times a week while he goes at least twice a day. So I've picked up the habit of eating a ton of chia seeds and fiber supplements. And throughout the week, I occasionally send him the kind of text that says, "Dropped a massive deuce today." Today, I somehow clicked on my devout Catholic 50-year-old female coworker's contact and proceeded to send the following. "Just took a fat one." Only I hadn't realized for 2 hours that I had sent this and received the following back. 3 crying laughing face emojis followed by a question mark. I am mortified. My husband has been trying to console me all day in between fits of laughter. Imagine being on the receiving end of that text from a coworker. I will either melt away this weekend or come down with the flu on Monday. The 3 laughing emojis with a question mark from a 50-year-old devout Catholic coworker, that is the most perfect response that could have happened. She didn't know what to do with that information, and honestly, who would? I love this story so much. All right, moving on. Story 9. Am I the jerk for telling my wife, forget it, and going out by myself for my birthday? This has been an ongoing issue, and it came to a head yesterday. My wife is a planner. It is extremely hard for her to just go with the flow, and she does have OCD, which is why she needs all the details before doing anything. A while ago, she asked what I wanted to do for my birthday. I've been burnt out from work, so I told her I just want to go to a chain restaurant around here on my day. Just a chill night out. I don't want to get dressed up or anything. She asked where and what time. I told her I'd just pick based on what I was feeling. Maybe I want Olive Garden, or maybe I want Chinese takeout. I made it clear many times that I don't want to plan anything and just go with the day. This week she asked what time, and I told her when we both get home, so like 5 or 6, we can just go out. She was frustrated that I wasn't giving her a specific answer about where to eat. I told her multiple times that I'd know what I was feeling that day. She asked if we needed reservations, and I told her no multiple times. We will be a walk-in on a Wednesday to a chain restaurant. She asked if I wanted anything fancy, and I told her no, I just wanted a simple night. Yesterday was where it all fell apart. I wanted Olive Garden. Go home, get some breadsticks, and chill the rest of the night. I got home around 5, and my wife was all dressed up. I asked why, and she said she made reservations at the fancy sushi place in the city. She said it was a surprise and we needed to leave in about 20 minutes. Nothing has sounded so unappealing to me in my life. I told her I wanted Olive Garden. We got into an argument about how she spent all this effort to get the reservation. I told her I didn't want any of this. In the end, I left to go to Olive Garden by myself. We got into another argument when I got back. Okay, so this one I genuinely feel for both of them. Like, his wife clearly has OCD, and not being able to plan something causes her real distress, so she did what made sense to her brain, which was lock in a plan. But he said no reservations, no fancy place, no getting dressed up, multiple times, and she went ahead anyway, and then framed it as a surprise. His birthday wish was literally just breadsticks and a chill night, and he didn't even get that. I think they just need to talk through how their different needs can coexist, because neither of them is a bad person here, they just really miscommunicated. Alright, last one. Story 10. Am I the jerk for enforcing basic boundaries on my daughter's sleepover? I'm 42, and I have 2 kids living with me. My daughter Anya, who is 17, and my stepson Noah, who is 14. Noah's mom passed away a few years ago, and I've had full custody since. He's had a rough go of it, but he's a good kid. He's not antisocial or shy, but he does not appreciate having his space invaded, and when he gets really upset, he can kind of shut down. Anya is much more outgoing and has a lot of friends. She asked to have a sleepover this weekend with 4 of them. I said yes, of course, but given that the friends coming over were pretty loud and have a tendency to crowd Noah, I told her to make sure they don't go into her brother's room. Also, to keep things down after 11 so the house could sleep. In my opinion, these are not strict rules. To my surprise, I came upstairs to check on them at around 10. They're 17. I didn't think I needed to check on them every hour, and they were in Noah's room. and they looked like they'd been there a while. Two of them were literally sitting on his bed, one was flipping through his sketchbook, another was messing with his other stuff, and they were all kind of giggling in this weird way. Noah was clearly upset. He didn't say anything or move, but there were tears in his eyes, and he didn't respond when I tried to talk to him. I told the girls to get out right then, and that I was calling every single one of their parents. Anya was pretty upset with me, but I told her that I gave them two rules and they failed spectacularly. I did actually call all of their parents and sent them home as soon as possible. Anya blew up, saying I embarrassed her. I told her to go to her room and that we would speak about this in the morning. I spent about 20 minutes with Noah before he decided he wanted to cool down on his own, and I went back to my daughter, who chose not to speak to me. It's late, both of my kids are hopefully asleep, and I'm left not knowing if I handled things right. You absolutely handled it right. Two rules. Two. Don't go in your brother's room and keep it down after 11. And they couldn't manage either one. And then you find a 14-year-old kid who lost his mom sitting there with tears in his eyes while a bunch of girls rifle through his sketchbook and laugh. I'd have sent them home too. Anya will understand when she's older. Noah needed that, and his dad showed up for him. That's what matters. All right, that's everything for today. Hope this kept you company for a while. If you're doing chores or trying to fall asleep or just needed some background noise, I hope it did the job. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.